So then, you're looking to get your new M7 license, or maybe you've just got one. That's great, but don't believe everything that you read. Hi again, it's Tim, Golf 5 Tango Mike, and thanks for stopping by and having a look at the channel. And if you're a regular, then welcome back, and if you're new, then think about clicking the subscribe and notifications buttons below. Okay, so today's video really is something I've been thinking long and hard about. Do I release it? Do I do it? But I've decided to have a go at trying to put across what I think is the case, and I'm really addressing the situation regarding people who are thinking of or have got their new license. Thing is though, and you probably encounter this in your workplace, whenever something new happens or whenever new blood comes into a workplace or a club or a hobby for that matter, then you'll always get resistance to that, and this is what this video is addressing. How should you, as a prospective or an actual new M7, deal with any resistance you may or may not actually encounter? Now, most of us use social media to a degree. Some people use Facebook, Twitter, etc., and of course YouTube. And especially on the written form of social media, predominantly Facebook, I suppose. People often tell me they come across posts where they are told about people saying, well, oh, all this M7 bashing goes on all the time, and I had a terrible time. Or people actually saying, actually, oh, I know I've been licensed for 528 years, and or whatever, and oh, these new M7s haven't got a clue, and they shouldn't be on the radio, blah 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 blah. So sometimes, if you just look at social media by itself, it can build up quite often an unrealistic picture of how new license holders are actually viewed by others, and what actually goes on the air too. I think it's absolutely fantastic that so many people are doing it now online, and I think hats off to the RSGB, in all fairness, for making that possible, and indeed have now opened it out for the intermediate license as well, which is even better. But going back to the foundation licenses, first of all, I think it's great that so many people are coming into the hobby. Believe me, it still gives me a thrill when I work somebody for the first time, especially if it's their first or near to first ever QSO. And I think that's an honour for anyone who's had their licence for maybe a year or two or longer to be able to welcome somebody new into the hobby, and I think that's fantastic. You'll always get the idiot who will basically moan and be completely anti anyone new coming into the hobby. Changes have gone on throughout the years. The new foundation license came in towards the start of the century, and there were there were some people, again I got to stress this, there were some people who had a massive problem with that, and probably still do to this day, hence some of their attitudes. And there are people who outwardly don't want to speak to M3s, M6s, M7s or whoever because they disagree with the system. But please believe this, they are of a very, very small minority of people. Truth is, about 99.9% of people on there will be more than happy to speak to you on whatever band you go on. And as I say, a lot of us who've been licensed, I've only been licensed 3 years, but a lot of people who've been licensed even longer than me, and I feel this way too, will get a thrill about working with somebody who's new onto the radio. It's great to hear new blood, a new voice to speak to, especially when it's on something like VHF, where you're probably going to encounter them quite a lot because they're within sort of reach of your station. So having somebody new to speak to is really, really good. And it's only a very small minority of people who feel any different to that. Now, of course, it happens on the other side of things as well. So you get some people who have never wanted to get a license, who said they're never going to bother to get a license, probably into 11 metres, and that's fine, no problem. It's a free world, isn't it? But then they say, well, I wouldn't get a ham license because I've heard so-and-so say that new foundation license holders are treated like rubbish, blah, 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 and it's just not worth it. I'm never going to do it. All hams are snobs, blah, 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 blah. Well, there's probably reasons why they say that. Maybe they have encountered it, I don't know. It's possible they have, of course. But I get the feeling that people who say that sort of thing without actually having done that side of the hobby, the ham side of the hobby themselves, have probably got other reasons for perhaps saying that. It might be that, I don't know, maybe they are maybe they have some sort of barrier within them. Maybe they feel fretful, but actually have to take the exam and study for it themselves. Now, of course, there's a minority of foundation holders, maybe even intermediates, who have been affected, okay? So they have come across idiots who basically shun them or shout at them or accuse them of not being proper hams because they haven't had to take a Morse test and write a 5,000 word report or essay in an exam about certain aspects of the hobby and this sort of thing. Well, you know what? Just ignore them. Now, there are one or two people, of course, who then go onto social media having encountered this themselves. I mean, the subject of this sort of diatribe, I suppose we'll call it, from these older hams, or more experienced hams, I should say. And then they'll literally say, well, I don't bother with ham anymore. What's the point? Because all I get is abuse and all I get are problems. And to be honest with you, it's not worth it, and I'm not doing it anymore because some bloke on a wet Tuesday afternoon in 2009 called me an idiot for having an M6, and I've been put off ever since. Now, I can understand why you get upset when someone says that to you, but you see, in any hobby, irrespective of what it is, you have to develop something called resilience. Now, resilience isn't measured in ohms, but what it is basically is something that you need to develop as a person, as an adult, quite frankly. And it doesn't matter what hobby it is. You could be into fishing, and maybe you snap your rod, so to speak. Or you could be into another hobby and your equipment breaks, or something happens which kind of spoils your day. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to stomp off home, throw your stuff into a cupboard and never do that hobby again? Or are you going to put it down to it being sort of a bad day at the office, if you like, and that you'll come back stronger next time? Now, the thing is, in radio, we're lucky. We've got something on the front of our radios which enables us to change our place within a certain band, or even select another band, okay? And that's what we need to start doing more of. So if you are thinking about getting into the hobby, or you just got your foundation and you're very nervous about going on there, and that is entirely understandable, by the way, okay? Now, if that's the case, don't fret. The chances of you coming across an idiot are fairly low, all right? And if you do come across someone like that, if you're unlucky enough to come across somebody like that, purely from an odds point of view, you've got to be unlucky to come across somebody like that. But if you do, take a deep breath, thank them for the QSO, go somewhere else, talk to somebody else. Now, if they're on 2 meters or 70 sems, you're probably going to encounter them, or you're going to hear them anyway, more than once. Fair enough. That could be a bit of a problem if they're on a repeater, especially, as well, and I get all that. But if they're on HF, if they're on 80 or 40 or even 20 meters, if they're on 20 meters, the chances are you're not going to hear them again for ages, or even on 40 for that matter. Just ignore them. All right, and if you hear of other people saying they've been put off by this once or twice encounter, then you have to begin to think about the level of resilience they have anyway. Okay, so don't think of their experience as being something that you need to copy as a new ham, or you need to try and really worry about. Okay, go on the air with a big smile on your face to enjoy it. Other people will hear the smile in your voice, and they'll come back to you just as positive as well. And if you encounter an idiot, use the tuning knob on your radio or the band selector function, get off that band, get off that frequency, and find somebody else. Now, I do get it that some people perhaps think they are, or maybe are, genuinely stuck with just VHF and UHF at home because of antenna restrictions, or maybe because of the sheer noise they have on HF, which I get. But if you are able, only if you're able, to get into a car, drive somewhere maybe 2 or 3 miles down the road, which is electrically a lot quieter, right? You can buy an Ampro whip for £20, £25 from any emporium in the UK, a little hamstick. Buy one for 20 metres, get a little mag mount if you want to, buy it on your car, and you can talk to the world about 5 minutes away from your own house without any interference at all electrically. and you'll get away from the fools who might be making your life a misery on VHF and UHF. Okay? So there's more than one way to skin a cat. Develop resilience and don't let these people put you off your hobby. Well, I'm glad I got out of my chest. It's just I've seen so many of these posts lately, and I just think it needs, I don't know, maybe somebody maybe with a lot more gravitas than me, quite frankly, to stand up and say, look, this isn't how it is. All right? Now, as I say, if you're thinking about doing your M7, getting your foundation license, don't be put off by some of the things you see other people posting. They may well have had a bad time, but the chances of you encountering anybody like that are slim, and the way you deal with it is down to you. And there's more than one way to enjoy the hobby and get away from people like that. Okay, so thanks for watching anyway. Name's Tim, call signs G5TM. As I said before, if you haven't clicked subscribe or that notification button, feel free to do so, and I'll catch you again on the next one. Take care now, and if you are going to be studying for your M7, good luck. And if you've just passed the M7, then I'll listen out for you on the band, and give me a shout if you hear me, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.